In the year 2137, when the Earth had finally begun to embrace a unified society after centuries of discord, Dr. Evelyn Marlowe, an esteemed archaeologist, stood at the entrance of a cave deep within the icy expanse of Antarctica. Her breath misted in the cold air as she glanced back at her team, all of whom were bundled in heavy parkas and carrying equipment designed for both excavation and survival. The winds howled like ethereal voices, reminding her of the isolation of this desolate place. But something more tangible than mere curiosity drove her forward, an instinct born from countless late nights studying anomalies that defied explanation. This particular anomaly had come to light only a month prior. A satellite tasked with monitoring glacial shifts had captured an image that showed an unusual formation beneath the ice. The pattern was too regular to be natural. When the coordinates were analyzed, the data suggested that something lay buried there. Something old, perhaps as ancient as the ice itself. Evelyn stepped forward into the shadowed mouth of the cave. The entrance was narrow, like a wound carved into the Earth's frozen skin. The light of her headlamp illuminated the walls, revealing layers of ice interlaced with veins of rock. Each step took her further from the light of the surface world and into a silent, timeless void. The cold here was absolute, seeping into her bones despite the insulating layers. After an hour of careful descent, the team reached a chamber. It was vast, the ceiling lost in darkness. Their lights played across walls glittering with frost. But it wasn't the walls that made Evelyn's breath catch. It was what lay in the center of the cavern. A structure, clearly artificial. It rose from the icy floor, half encased in translucent layers of ice, as if time itself had tried to preserve it. The structure resembled a monolith, standing nearly 20 feet high and 10 feet wide, covered in intricate patterns and symbols that pulsed faintly as the light of their lamps struck it. The patterns were unlike any script known to humanity. Curves and spirals interlaced with geometric precision, forming a language that whispered of intent and purpose. Evelyn approached the artifact with a mix of reverence and disbelief. Her gloved hand brushed away a thin layer of frost from the surface, revealing the smooth, dark material beneath. It was warm to the touch. "This isn't natural," one of her assistants, Jacob, whispered. His voice cracked with awe. "How long do you think it's been here?" "Longer than the ice," Evelyn replied, her voice trembling. "Maybe longer than humanity itself." A pulse resonated from the monolith, subtle but undeniable. The symbols on its surface flared brighter for a moment before dimming again. It felt almost alive. They set up their equipment, recording every detail. Carbon dating would be futile here. The structure didn't seem organic. Metal detectors and spectrometers couldn't identify its composition. It was as if the artifact refused to be known by the crude instruments of human science. Hours passed. As the team documented their findings, Evelyn studied the symbols more closely. Patterns began to form in her mind. It was like looking at the pieces of a puzzle slowly assembling themselves. She felt an inexplicable connection to the artifact, as though it were reaching out to her. Then she saw it. Amid the swirling symbols, a pattern emerged, a map. Not a map of Earth, but of the stars. It depicted constellations, many recognizable, but some were unfamiliar. Evelyn traced the lines connecting the stars, and her heart skipped a beat. A point was marked. A distant star system. "These are coordinates," she whispered. "But not for anywhere on Earth." "What do you mean?" Jacob asked. "This map points to a star system tens of thousands of light-years away," she said, her voice quivering. It's as if someone wanted us to find this. To know where we came from." The realization settled over the group like a suffocating weight. If this artifact had been buried for millennia beneath Antarctic ice, who had placed it here? And more importantly, why did it hint that humanity's origins were not of this Earth? The days that followed were a whirlwind of analysis, debate, and sleepless nights. News of the discovery spread through the scientific community like wildfire. Some dismissed it as an elaborate hoax, a misunderstanding of natural phenomena. Others saw it as the most significant discovery in human history. But as Evelyn delved deeper into the artifact's mysteries, she felt an unshakable certainty. The symbols, the patterns, the map, they all pointed to a single, unsettling conclusion. Humans had not evolved on Earth. The evidence mounted. Genetic anomalies in human DNA, previously explained away as quirks of evolution, suddenly made sense in this new context. Ancient myths and legends of gods descending from the skies seemed less like allegory and more like fragmented memories of a distant origin. The artifact was a beacon, a message left by an unknown civilization, perhaps a warning or an invitation. Whatever the intention, its revelation threatened to upend everything humanity believed about itself. Governments struggled to contain the information. Conspiracy theories ran rampant. Religious leaders preached both hope and despair. Scientists argued over the implications. But amidst the chaos, Evelyn remained focused on the coordinates. She joined a mission to explore the distant star system. The journey would take decades, but she didn't hesitate. The need to know, to uncover the truth of humanity's origins, drove her forward. The ship departed Earth with a crew of explorers, dreamers, and scientists. As they drifted into the abyss of space, Evelyn thought of the monolith buried in the ice. Silent now, its message delivered. What lay ahead was uncertain. But the truth, however unsettling, was out there, waiting among the stars. And perhaps, so were they, the ones who had left the artifact behind. The ones who had given humanity its first home, or its second. The ship, Odyssey, glided through the void, its sleek hull shimmering against the backdrop of endless night. Generations of technological advancement had culminated in this vessel, capable of bending the limits of space and time, of piercing the great cosmic distances that separated them from their destination. As the stars streaked past the viewports, Evelyn's thoughts drifted. The weight of their mission pressed on her shoulders. They were venturing into the unknown, following a breadcrumb left by a civilization whose existence challenged everything humanity had believed. The coordinates pointed to a star system cataloged as E97 Aquila, a place barely more than a whisper in the records of astronomers. From what they knew, the system had several planets within its habitable zone. But no probe, no telescope had ever sent back definitive signs of life. Yet the monolith had made it clear. There was something there. A connection. A truth. Perhaps the origin of the species itself. Years passed aboard the Odyssey in relative stillness. The crew lived in cycles of work, research, and suspended animation. Evelyn spent much of her waking hours studying the data, trying to prepare herself for what lay ahead. Even with the most sophisticated technology, space travel was still a waiting game. But patience was a virtue Evelyn had long ago mastered. One by one, her team awoke as they neared the system, a star glowing with a serene, golden light. The ship's sensors buzzed with activity, streams of data scrolling across every screen. "We've arrived," the pilot, Commander Reese Tanaka, announced, his voice steady, but tinged with awe. The system unfolded before them, planets orbiting the star like gemstones set in a cosmic crown. Two were gas giants, majestic and foreboding. One was a frozen rock, lifeless and barren. But the fourth, it caught Evelyn's breath. A blue-green world, teeming with swirling clouds and vast oceans, turned slowly in the darkness. "It's beautiful," Jacob whispered, his eyes wide. "A second Earth," Evelyn murmured, her heart pounding. Or maybe the first. The crew descended into orbit, instruments scanning feverishly. The atmosphere was breathable, the landmass covered in dense vegetation. It was a paradise, untouched and ancient. They landed in a broad valley, where rivers snaked through emerald plains. The air was crisp and rich with the scent of unknown flora. Birds, or creatures resembling birds, called from the trees, their songs a strange harmony of the familiar and the alien. "Spread out," Evelyn instructed. "Record everything." Hours of exploration yielded wonders. Plants with bioluminescent veins, streams filled with crystalline waters, and forests where the leaves shimmered like metal in the sunlight. It was a world that felt both new and old, as if waiting patiently for them. Then they found it. Deep within the valley, obscured by vines and moss, lay another structure. This one was larger than the Antarctic monolith, half buried in the earth. Its surface bore the same swirling symbols, the same impossible patterns pulsing faintly. "It's another message," Evelyn said, her voice trembling. As she stepped closer, Her mind felt that same inexplicable connection, a whisper across time and space. She reached out, her fingers brushing the surface. The moment she made contact, the symbols ignited in a cascade of brilliant light. A low hum filled the air, resonating in her bones. Her vision blurred, and then the world around her changed. Evelyn stood in a vast hall, light streaming through crystalline windows. Towers of impossible geometry loomed outside. Figures moved around her, tall and elegant, their forms both human and otherworldly. They wore garments that shimmered like liquid metal, their eyes bright with intelligence. One of them stepped forward, his gaze kind yet piercing. "You have come far," he said, his voice resonating in her mind. "We did not know if you would." "Who are you?" she whispered. "We are the architects," he replied. "Your ancestors and the caretakers of your journey. Why did you leave us?" "We did not leave you," the architect said softly. "We planted the seeds of your kind on Earth to give you a chance to grow, to learn, to become more than we ever were." Evelyn's mind reeled. "Why show us this now?" "Because you are ready," he said. "Ready to join us, to take your place among the stars." The vision faded, and Evelyn was back in the valley, her team around her, looking worried and bewildered. "Are you okay?" Jacob asked. Evelyn took a deep breath, the weight of the revelation settling into her very soul. "We're not alone," she said. "We never were." News of the discovery rippled back to Earth, where it ignited both fear and hope. But one thing was clear. Humanity's destiny was no longer confined to a single world. They had found their origins, and now they had the choice to embrace a future among the stars. Evelyn looked up at the sky, at the endless expanse of possibilities. The journey was just beginning.